Okay, I'm recording now. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I am really excited to have Patrick Porter on. He is the developer of the BrainTap technique. It's something I've been using personally for almost 6 years now. He is the author of many books. I have two right here. I know I have more of your books downstairs, but those were the two I could put my hands on the quickest. And the reason why I've invited Dr. Porter on to share this information is because I had a 40-year history of insomnia and depression that was resolved in less than a month using the BrainTap technology. And I also had developed severe anxiety that went away in about from 5 years, also in the same period of time. And you and I had talked about this idea of creating specific tracks for people that are in the Prove It community that are trying to introduce and educate people about ketones. And first of all, can you explain how BrainTap works?
Well, the basic principles behind BrainTap have to do with something called frequency following response. And we want the brain, we want to connect with the brain at the level that it's operating in. And most people, I should say everyone who's conscious and walking around is going to be in some form of beta or alpha. But because of stress, they're in high stress, which is high beta. So what the BrainTap system does is guide them from this beta consciousness into a relaxed state of alpha and theta, and then back again. So we're actually triggering neurotransmitters along the way, which is a whole different conversation maybe that we can have. But each one of these brainwaves actually triggers the neurons that help produce those neurotransmitters that get your brain to function correctly. So we're balancing, rebooting, and replenishing brain function with it. And it also helps in motivation. So to stick with anything like a ketogenic diet, for instance, in this case, it's going to help you to stay focused. We call this top of the mind awareness. If you're focusing on something, you bring about what you think about. So we want them to be thinking about health and vitality and staying on the positive program.
Right. So how does interlacing these tracks on ketones, does it have more of a long-lasting effect that you'll remember it longer as well? Or is it just to understand the concepts easier?
Yeah. One thing maybe in your comments, we can link the Just the Facts video. So if they want to learn more about it, they can watch that. But we're going to use light, sound, and vibration to get them into a state of theta. Theta is a state of hypermnesia, which means super memory. So any learned behavior has to go from a place of not knowing what you're doing to a place of doing it unconsciously. And so while most people are dealing with the conscious mind and making changes on that level, like a diet, for instance, the average diet in America lasts 72 hours because everybody wakes up on Monday morning, they have the best intentions in the world. But by the time they get to Wednesday, they say the hell with it. And then on Friday, they're eating anything they can because on Monday, they're starting their new diet. Statistically speaking, the average woman spends 32 years of her life on a diet. And when you figure that out, Monday through Wednesday, almost every week, that'd be about it. But that was based on 10,000 women in New York. So it might be different in other areas of the country. So what we're doing is we want to get people to change their behaviors by changing their thoughts. The thoughts are ancestors to action. So, and that's what, Wayne Dyer used to say when he was alive, and I kind of like to quote him on that because that's the truth. What you think about all day long is what you're going to bring about. And so as you think about your life and your experience, if you're visualizing, every athlete knows to visualize, every professional. There's not a successful person out there on the planet that doesn't do some form of visualization. Some have been trained in it, some just do it on their own. We're going to actually do it for them. We're going to teach them some techniques to train the brain. And then, of course, when we're marrying it with something like the ketogenic diet, it's all about putting it on your timeline. As I said earlier, you get what you rehearse, not what you intend. So if they've never rehearsed these behavior patterns, it's hard to make the changes. When stress happens, you revert back to primitive behavior. So the BrainTap is going to actually replace willpower and get them to use their imagination to create the type of life that they want. And if you put on the timeline that you're going to stay on your ketogenic diet, then in using ketones, it's going to basically flag it, almost like putting Post-it notes around to remind you to stay positive, to stay productive, to take your ketones, whatever it is. Your brain's now, it's something it's looking forward to because it's at the top of the mind.
Right. And the other thing I love is that because we were able to marry the ketone technology with the keto diet, because a lot of times I hear from people that, they have difficulty, thinking about giving up all those emotional eating foods, right? So by sharing this information while they're in this relaxed state about getting healthier fats into their diet, including taking the therapeutic ketones, it's just a wonderful combination to help them live a healthier life.
Right. When Einstein said you can't solve a problem on the same level it was created, that's what people are doing with their life. They're trying to, with their same level of thinking, make changes. You need to go to a solution state. And really, that's why businesses and people in their personal life will take vacations, or they'll go to a business meeting to get away, like the symposium we went to just this past weekend. They go there to get recharged, revitalized, start planning their life differently. Now, what we're doing with BrainTap is they can take a 10-minute, a 15-minute, or a 20-minute break and really refocus. That's why in sports they usually have a halftime so that people can do it. But in our personal life, people forget to do that. So we're going to give them time sometime during the day. Of course, we have the AM programs too that help to reboot the brain, and we call it digital coffee. But then during the day, it helps them to focus on what's most important to them. And as you start these positive behaviors, your life starts to change, because those thoughts bring about the actions that are going to improve the quality of their life.
Right. And we both know that when people have a lot of stress in their life, they release more cortisol. They tend to gain weight, even if they're eating the same. And that's another reason why I love bringing BrainTap into this, because it's going to help them with their stress levels. And it's going to actually change how their body deals with stress.
Right. Once your brain learns how to disengage, then they can put the brakes on, so to speak, and get parasympathetics engaged. And when you do that, your body's in the rest, recovery, digest, heal mode. And that's the best time to present new ideas to the mind. Also, it's the best way to visualize, putting aside that time to visualize those positive results you want in your life. And there's not as much resistance to it happening. And so that's the key to using the brain tapping system. Now, for those who don't understand, you can listen to it with your own earphones, and you get the isochronic tones and the binaural beats, and that's balancing the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So we're sending signals in as sound frequencies. Now, we also have the words that you've been talking about, because they have proven that when you start to change the way that somebody thinks about a certain situation or circumstance, that actually in meditation, you're changing over 2,000 different gene combinations. So they call it epigenetics. So we're going to affect the gene sequence by the way you think. And that's why your body can change while you're doing this. Now, it could happen just by the music, the light and sound, and the vibration. But if you're using the brain tapping headset, we also have earphones that bring light into the ears. So they're getting this light that's using something called auricular therapy. So we're also opening up these meridian lines and getting the body to function better. So if there's blockages there, the body's going to start to clear them. We have flashing lights that work in the eyes, so your eyes are closed, so you don't really notice it as much. But the lights are attracted by the optic nerve is attracted by the light, and it balances the brain. So we're using light, sound, and vibration with the brain tapping system to engage that part of the brain that we would need to take. Maybe there's a fallacy out there, or a fantasy that people have. It takes 21 days to create a new habit. But they didn't read the rest of the research. The research at Stanford shows, and Harvard proved it, it takes 18 months to create a new habit, but 21 days if you use visualization and relaxation techniques. So within the brain tapping program, you're now adhering to their protocol. It's like you can't get one without the other. So you can't just make a behavior change for 21 days and think you're going to make a change. Some people will, but most people won't. If the average diet lasts 72 hours, then something's broken there. And it's not the diet. the diet works, but people can't stick to it. So in this case, we want people to stick with it because it's a lifestyle. It's a way to use the fat to feed the brain, because when we're talking about BrainTap, we want brain function. And as we get better looking and more intelligent with age, we want to make sure that our brain is functioning at optimum levels. So with the brain being made up of primarily of fat, we need to have the right kind of fats that our body's using, or we need to trigger our body into ketosis, or using the ketones that they can get through the therapeutic doses.
Yeah. And, the other thing that I just want you to talk a little bit about is the relationship between insomnia and how that also affects weight, and how BrainTap works to cure, like me, I've been cured of insomnia. If you can just explain that as well.
Right. First of all, as a disclaimer, we don't cure anything. You have to have a MD after your name to do that. What we do is the symptoms of insomnia seem to go away. And so I'm going to explain that to you. So that word can get people in trouble. But what happens is what causes insomnia in our case, or we call it better sleeping program, is because people get into that high fight or flight, and the brain cannot disengage. So during the day, they have a high degree of delta, which means they're tired, they have inflammation, they're trying to go to sleep during the day when they should be awake. Then when they finally lay down to go to sleep, their brain wakes up. And all this stuff's going on, and they can't go to sleep because they've not trained their brain to go through the proper cycles. So what we do at the BrainTap is we have a program which actually takes you through the brainwave sequence and drops you off in what's called deep delta sleep. So delta is the deep sleep program that needs to happen. Now, if you don't reach deep sleep, level 4 sleep, some really bad things start to happen in the body, which is weight gain, stress, anxiety, fear, and toxins build up in the brain. Your brain only releases toxins when it's in level 4 sleep. So what we've shown with the BrainTap is that when you use it during the day, not even right before you go to sleep, if you use it during the day, the brain will reach deeper levels of sleep at night, because we're offloading that energy. Think of your body as an energy system. It collects energy during the day. And that's why some people, when they're working on their taxes or something, go, my brain's full, I just need to do something else, I need to reboot. Well, on a lesser degree, that happens every day, and then it builds up a charge, and we need to discharge it. So if we don't reach deep sleep, actually by 12 o'clock at night, then we never release melatonin in the brain. So there's a lot of other things we could talk about by that, but just know that the brain being the most powerful pharmacy on earth, but it has to be in the right brainwave states to release that pharmacology, and it has to have the right light sequences. So there's a lot going on here when we use blue lights that are safe frequency lights that are going to actually reset the circadian rhythm, because most people aren't getting that light. We live in our homes, we drive in our cars, we're not out there, 8 to 10 hours a day working in the fields or hunting and gathering. So our brain is literally light deprived. So in fact, they say that light is the most underprescribed nutrient that we have, because that light instructs the brain what to do. So we're going to bring light, sound, and vibration into the body to rest, recover, and rejuvenate the nervous system. And then, of course, if you add the right diet, like a ketogenic diet or the therapeutic ketones, you're going to just accelerate the brain's function and get it to work even better, clear, more focused, and have the concentration you need.
Yeah, the two are really they work so well together. They dovetail really nicely. And it's interesting, there was a study that was recently done, and I can get people the study if they want, but they talked about how poor sleep is directly connected to things like obesity, cancer, mood-related disorders. And, to me, that's why I really believe that when it helped me with my insomnia, I won't use the word cure again, even though for me it did. When it helped me with my insomnia, my depression and anxiety just went away, because I was obviously not giving my brain what it needed, because I wasn't able to get into a deep sleep. But, this study even talked about cancer, that you need to get a good, restful 7 to 8 hours sleep a night to stay healthy. So yes, it can definitely affect your mood and how happy you are and behavioral stuff, but it can also cause serious health problems.
Right. There's something in the body that when you get the rest, relaxation, and recovering, it's actually a cellular reboot. And our cellular system, if we need to conserve energy, every cell is like a battery. It's either giving energy or taking energy. And when we don't sleep, the body seems to require more energy. But when we're in a good mood, we've slept well, we're having fun, it seems like energy flows through us and to us. So part of it is just getting the body back online, getting the energy systems back working properly. And, so that's why we tell people we're doing a reboot. And in the middle of the afternoon at the office here, we have a setup where our staff can take a wellness break, because it's not that they're all under stress and I'm a tyrant here at work, but hopefully but we know that just dealing with people on the phone or having our creative team that has to come up with things, they get stressed out. Then they come back, they reboot. It's almost like they're given a new morning. And how people are motivated in the morning because they have all this energy, that's what you want to do. And we really do live in an energy economy. People want the energy to do the things that need to be done without sacrificing all their free time because they're so tired that they just want to plop down on the couch and take a nap when they get home. But we recommend they do a 10, 20-minute session on the BrainTap and reboot their brain and then have a great evening.
Yeah, and it's funny, before I even knew who you were or BrainTap was, when I first started in practice, one of my very first patients was an attorney with the EPA, and he would come in and get adjusted at the end of the day, and a lot of times he'd fall asleep. If we had a bunch of tables in the room, he would crash for 10 minutes. And he said to me, God, it'd be so great if somebody could invent a place where we could go and take a nap for 15 or 20 minutes. He said, I would pay good money for that. And I'm thinking now, yeah, that could be the BrainTap, have a BrainTap room in your office, and that would help reboot you.
Right. A lot of times when people try to take naps, they wake up groggy, because to take a nap without the really technology-assisted nap, if you will, or we call it technology-assisted meditation, is that it takes about 4 hours to get the same cycling that the BrainTap does. So a lot of people will take a nap, but then they'll be groggy because they don't cycle back up into, there's 4 primary brain waves that we operate in, beta being wide awake and delta being sleep. Between them, there's alpha and theta. If you wake up on a down cycle, you're going to be tired. That's why some people can sleep 10 hours, but wake up on a down cycle, they feel tired all day. And you might get woke up in the morning, maybe at 5 or 6 o'clock, and you're on an up cycle, and you get woke up and you have all this energy. Because it's all about, is the body in a receiving mode or is it in a transmitting mode? Because every cell in our body is always transmitting and receiving this information. And it's just like everything, just like our moon has cycles, women have cycles, everything has cycles. And so our body needs to be recycled as far as the energy goes and rebooting the brain. So as you learn to do that, obviously you can do that on your own. If you have the ambition to do it. But what we find is people just don't take the time, and they can't reach the deep states that the BrainTap can guide them to.
Yeah, so before, you're going to also talk about all the different options people have for sharing this with their customers, potential customers, promoters. But before we get into that, I do want to make sure that anyone who's watching this to email me at drtarlow@gmail.com. Let me know who referred you to this webinar, and we'll make sure that you get a link for a free 7 days to actually listen to the ketone tracks, the ketogenic diet, listen to the insomnia, stress reduction, explore all 700 plus titles, and so you can get a really good feel for this. Patrick, can you talk about the different options that people have? Some of the people here are chiropractors, but others are not. They got in to prove it as a way to build a business, and how can they get involved in this? Okay.
Well, one other thing too, just so you know, Nancy, that I'll send you a link so they can download the Thrive and Overdrive book that you showed at the beginning.
Oh, great.
And they can read it out. They can have that for free just for being on the call, so they can understand a little bit more about the technology and why it's so important in this technology age to use this technology to help reboot their brain. But as someone who's promoting it, if you buy a BrainTap headset, or if you join our streaming service, which is the on-demand library, the equipment is only $495. The online. Of course, if you buy that, you're going to get access to certain tracks that will make it work, all the time. And so when they do that, they don't have to buy the subscription, but if they choose to, there's different levels of the subscription. And the one that I'll talk about here is $30. It gives you access to our whole library of sessions. And when you can give that away, just like you were doing, you can give it away to family members and friends for a trial period. And during that trial, if they decide to do it, then we're going to give back to you as the referring partner 30%. So within the brain tapping world, the hardware, the software is the easiest because we're in 40 different countries. So we don't always ship into those countries, but through the internet, they can just download that, put it on their smartphone, start using it right away. The hardware itself, when you buy one, that's good. But we have a reseller package where you can buy two and you get one free. So that's $995. And then as a reseller, then from that point on, you only pay $300 for the BrainTap, or you can buy it in bigger quantities, which is probably something they could talk to you about afterwards, Nancy, if they're interested. We also have other packages, like they could buy 3 and get 2 free. So those are things they can communicate with you, and it'd be great to have more people helping us to get it out there to the world. We also have a licensing program, which I know you did, Nancy, when you were working your practice, where we actually help you to implement this in your practice. I used to have a franchise company, so we can show you how to use it in your practice, bring people in and help them to get results, and maybe coordinate it with your program. For the Prove It, if you're a Prove It distributor or reseller, it's probably easy. What's that?
They're called promoters.
Promoters. If you're a promoter, then it's probably easiest. You could just give away the app, and you get commission as an affiliate. And then you'll get commission when they buy the headset. It's very easy to do, and Nancy can walk you through that. It's a very simple process. We don't have open enrollment, so right now you have to go through someone like Nancy, so she can set you up and get you going in that way. But the main way to do it is, and we do this with home parties a lot. They'll bring people over. Just as an example here, we have a program based on Think and Grow Rich, which a lot of these people will do home parties with. And it's almost like a conference where each week they listen to one of the different tracks. There's 17 tracks based on that book. And then they get together and they brainstorm how they can use that to help build their practice. So that's part of the app they can do. But we have over 43 different categories on the app. So you could even do a program using the ketone program to do a weight loss program at your home, do a home party and have them listen to it, because they can get it for free on their app, on their phone, start listening to that part of it. Then if you have the BrainTap, they can do a demo session with you. And if they want to buy that, you can help them get into it.
Right. And and I also want to make sure that anybody that's listening who has been a BrainTap customer for a while, you obviously have access to all of these tracks as well. So it's just something, a new set of tracks that have been added.
Yeah. You'll find it I think it's in the health series, right? Lifestyle program. Yeah. Eventually, we have a new app coming out at the beginning of November. So those that are on the app, it'll just be automatically upgraded. It'll be easier to even get to. It'll be 2 steps instead of the 4 steps on this app, but it'll be easy to get to, easy to share. The new app actually is going to have a place where you can just put in your friend's email, press a button, and you can share it, and it links back to your account so we know who it is. So we're trying to make it easier for them.
Yeah, it's good to have all these different options because for a chiropractor, for instance, becoming a site licensee would make a lot of sense. But for someone who isn't, a reseller option, or even just doing the affiliate link is a great way to share information about the ketones easily. Because I was very frustrated. It was taking me a lot of time to share information about ketones. And, I wanted a way to streamline it, which is why I talked to you about it. And it just seems to make a lot of sense, just like with everything else. So Rhea has a question. She says, this technology is not new, right? So I'm going to let you address that.
Well, I'm the inventor of this technology. I invented it in the 80s. We had the very first portable light and sound machine. So it's not new in that regards in that we've been creating it. But this technology we have, no one has the technology we have as far as using the Nogier frequencies and the red and blue lights in the ears for auricular therapy. That's something that no one has. We didn't even have that 2 years ago. So we've put 7 technologies into the headset. So most people have one of these technologies. Maybe they'll have 2 of these technologies, but no one on earth, because we have a patent on it, has all 7.
Right. Yeah. And I've started using in January 2012, and to see the evolution of the product from when it was the glasses with earbuds to where it is now. And I got fantastic results with the original product, but, the new product, for me is just incredible. I love it. I want to see if there were any other questions. Does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask? And again, as a reminder, if someone has referred you to this webinar and you'd like to get more information, just email me at drtarlow@gmail.com. Let me know who referred you, and we'll make sure that you get a link to try this out. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions. Is there anything else you want to add?
Well, I think the biggest thing.
Sorry. Lisette has raised her hand.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Lisette.
Can I unmute?
Yeah, I unmuted you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Dr. Porter, for coming on and sharing this wonderful technology with us and helping us, bring this out to our Prove It community. And I loved your explanation of, ketones as a fuel source for the brain and how this marries in very nicely. So that I just wanted to kind of say thank you. And I just, not that I have any questions, but I did want to add that I've been using the BrainTap for about 5 years now myself. And I originally started with the Mind Fit, and then and now it's involved to the BrainTap. And I definitely, if you're using it consistently, I really see, I'll call it my mental flexibility during the day, that stress doesn't impact me. Things can happen, and I'll have a conversation with a friend, and they'll be so stressed out about it, and I'll sit there and go, oh, okay, well, here's a solution for that. I just feel like my brain has so much more mental flexibility when I'm using the BrainTap. And so thank you for that. Thank you for this technology. Thank you for coming on here and sharing the new keto tracks that we're very excited about.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you for sharing it. That's why we do this. I saw that someone asked, can you use it without the headset? Yes, you can. You're just not going to get the light effect that I was talking about, but you still get a good effect. I mean, it will still work because you're getting the frequencies, you're getting the binaural beats, the isochronic tones, the music, and the messaging. So it's still going to be effective. Back when we first started before 86, of course, there was no light, there was no LEDs, so we couldn't do this. There was no digital way to get the brain to follow that frequency. So we were getting good results then. We just want to accelerate those results. And, and there are, just so you know, there are certain people that just won't like the lights. So we just use the sound with them. And that typically is somebody who is light-eyed maybe, or is light sensitive. If they find that going through a wooded area bothers them, they probably wouldn't want to do the lights. They would just do the sound portion.
Right, and also, obviously the auricular therapy is the added benefit as well. So,
yeah, and the actual headset is $495, and you always have access to sessions when you own that. You just don't have access to all the sessions. So we have right now, there's about 26 sessions you have access to. So it can be used without any other expense. But if you want to listen to everything in the app, then we have different levels of app subscription or membership. So that's where the $30 a month comes in.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's great. If there are no other questions, Lisette, I see, did you raise your hand again? I'm not sure here. It looks like or maybe it just didn't go up from before. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your creating these tracks for our Prove It, people in the community, because I think it will help explain how ketosis, ketone, and the ketogenic diet works a lot more efficiently as far as our time goes. So
yeah. So remember, it's free. Nancy can send you a free link so you can get on there, try them out, see how it works for you. If you're like the other thousands of people we have on the app, you're going to enjoy it and you start getting the physical, mental, and emotional benefits of using it. And then, of course, with the ketogenic diet, having the energy, more energy during the day is always a plus. So Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Great. Thank you.